Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Name the dog, Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in pints?
Shaken, not stirred. Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my man who loves a good listicle. It's Frank. How are you today?
I am so ready to talk about movies with you today.
I'm glad you knew that a listicle was a combination of talking about a list and a musical. And then you really...
Listicle, the musical, featuring... Wow.
I know. Good times down at the rodeo. Frank, what are you drinking today?
I am drinking Blue Moon.
Ooh,
Good
a
old
classic.
Good, tried and true, Blue Moon, Belgian white. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a long time since I've had one. Or at least since it's been a while since I've had a Blue Moon period. So it's nice to have a 12-pack of these in my fridge right now.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember the last time I had a Blue Moon years ago at this point. Oh, that's depressing. Yeah. Gotta get some Blue Moon.
There was a time when Blue Moon was like one of my absolute favorite beers. Like when I first got into drinking beer, I thought it was like exotic, like or something. Yes. You know, like it's not Bud Light, but they still have it at Applebee's, so I can still get it. And my taste has...
I've said that that's too long for a title.
Yeah,
because I would say make that the title.
It's so true. But you know, okay, my taste has changed, and I've tried lots of other things now, and I've broadened my horizons. But then you know, you come back every often, you're like, you know what? This is a damn good beer, though. I do enjoy it.
It's true that like, if your entry beers are your Coors or Buds or Millers or whatever, Blue Moon did feel like, well, I'm a big beer drinker now.
Yeah. Oh, this is craft beer.
Moon. Yeah. Oh, how silly. How silly are we? It's still good though. You know, like I think that's
it's still really good.
With like an orange slice.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, it's a little heavy though. That's the only thing with Blue Moon that I do find. It's like, it's nice summer beer, Blue Moon. I'm like, it's kind of heavy for a summer beer.
Yeah, it can be.
It can. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as light. There are lighter beers for sure. Yeah,
sure.
It's still a wheat ale, so it's got the wheat
some
kind
heft.
of. Yeah, it doesn't heft.
Well, yeah, I like it though.
But what are you drinking?
Delicious. I am drinking, just like the previous episode. Actually, I'm drinking a Great North Ale Works, a black bear beer. Whew, that's tough. Alliteration is hard, Frank.
Beer
ale. It is an Imperial Stout. It is delicious. A Russian Imperial Stout, to be specific about it. It's delicious as it was before, but this is the last one from my for the lineup in my refrigerator. And as we slowly creep into the spring season, I do feel that it is time to put away the stouts. Unless, of course, you're Frank Ramblings and you're like, summer's coming, gotta get my stouts out.
Get the stouts out.
It's summertime.
I hate you.
Shorts and stouts. The Frank Rambling story.
Wow. Shorts and stouts. I'm a little...
Drink your shorts and stouts.
Oh, we were having way too much fun.
Too much fun.
So, hey, a few weeks ago, we played a game you called IMDebatable.
IMDebatable.
Where we looked at IMDb's, 5 highest-rated sci-fi movies and talked about whether or not those films belonged on such a list. And now you've brought me IMDb's 10 highest-rated Best Picture winners.
Yes, I thought in this Best Picture season, the Oscar season, that we should be speaking of what are some of the highest rated Best Picture winners out there. And what I would like to do is go. This is there's 10 highest. And I want to start at number 10, go to number 1, and keep everyone guessing. See what we're going to come up to next. And so here, because we talked about this on the previous IMDebatable, that this is the algorithm of people voting for what is the best one, and so out of these 10, there's been obviously a lot of Best Picture winners over the years. You can check out Academy Rewind on the Thoughtable Audio Network to dive more deeply into them. Co-host Palmer and myself going through every single Best Picture nominee year by year, and so almost done. We're on the sunset side of our time in the sun with Academy Rewind. So, but you can check it out there. So obviously there's so many out there that I don't think we could possibly be like, well, it's not as good as the winners of 1954.
Sure.
We're not going to do that. So we're just going to look at this top 10 list and see if it deserves its high accolades out of these 10. Do you have another one that you do know that you feel would be better placed in here?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at this list, which you'll see, there's really nothing from the 1970s, everything's from the 70s or up. So
yes,
there's a lot of Best Picture winners in here that are excellent films that are just not on this list.
Are any of these 80s? I see 70s, I see 90s and 2000s.
No 80s films.
No 80s films.
There's a reason for that, because none of the 80s movies were good.
Yeah, okay.
I mean they were, but they're not to the level that some of the other ones are.
Sure.
So yeah. And I'll talk about that a bit too. So anyway, at number 10, Ridley Scott's Gladiator with an 8.5 rating on the IMDb rating list. I think this is absolutely deserved, Frank. Gladiator's a great movie, and I'm glad that it won Best Picture in 2000. Yeah, 2000 it won Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just rock solid. It's great. I think I watch it at least once a year.
I do not. I don't dislike it. I just don't have the same love for it that you do. I don't know. It doesn't stick with me in quite the same way. I don't know that I'd put it in my list of favorite Best Picture, like my 10 favorite Best Picture winners. But it's obviously I think it's a great film. I don't know. I don't know if I'd put it on my list though.
I think it actually, in this list, it kind of fulfills a weird requirement of the Academy Awards. They just love their sword and sandals, their big epics.
They do.
And so, whereas Ben-Hur isn't on here, or Ten Commandments, which didn't win, it was nominated but didn't win. All of those Spartacus, those bigger Quo Vadis, those really big biblical. Our ancient world epics.
Cleopatra,
good. Yeah, all of those are fine, but I think Gladiator is a better version of a similar story in a lot of ways.
Sure.
It's not exactly breaking new ground in the storytelling department, but I think it is a really nice. It's one of those movies for me that it hits every mark in what makes a good movie. It's not like, oh, that movie had a really good story, but the music was lousy, or the acting was okay, but it had great visuals or whatever. I think it's strong from top to bottom.
Yep.
It's got a good story, great music, production design is outstanding, costumes.
It checks
acting,
every box.
It does. It checks all the boxes, and plus it gave the world Joaquin Phoenix, which is unless we hate him now. Prior to after we recorded this episode, which is great.
It all depends on whether or not we are entertained.
Yes, correct. See, you know it well enough to say to quote it. So, which is good. Number 9, also at an 8.5, but I would assume slightly higher, is The Departed, which I do not think deserves to be on this list.
I'm sorry, what did you call that movie?
The Departed. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know you didn't hear me right.
Yeah.
The Departed is on this list. Yeah,
it doesn't belong on the list.
Yeah, no, I think this movie. I think The Departed is really overrated, Frank.
I kind of agree with you. Yeah, I'm glad you said it first, though.
Wild. Yeah, I didn't. I mean, we're friends, so obviously we share similar opinions sometimes. But like, that's not an opinion. I mean, I'm saying it now on the thing that will be broadcast to millions of people.
Yeah.
Probably.
Definitely.
But it's good. It's like it's quality. Scorsese. Everybody acts well in it. It's all fine. Though, like, it doesn't really do anything interesting or new for me. And I mean, you weren't living in Boston at the time that this movie came out, but it was in the era of like, oh my God, they're filming in Boston. They're filming in the area. This movie's about us. Look at it. He's wearing a Red Sox hat.
Yeah.
This movie is made about me. And I don't know how it plays elsewhere, you know? And so, like, we've, thank goodness, at least lost that sheen a bit in the area a little bit. Like, people aren't screaming, like, Manchester by the Sea, it's about me.
Right.
He's wearing a Red Sox hat. Like, you don't have that same effect now.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if Good Will Hunting had won Best Picture, that would be on this list instead.
Yeah, I think it lost to Shakespeare in Love, if
that sounds right.
Mistaken. But it won Best Screenplay, Best Original Screenplay.
And Robin Williams won.
Robin Williams did win. Yeah, it should be on this list, though. It's an amazing movie.
If that had won, that would be in the slot, I think.
Yes. Yeah, I think so, too. I don't think I've ever really encountered anybody that said, Good Will Hunting, overrated.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, Boston or not Boston.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And but I don't know. Is that maybe that's because it's just it's a little more original, I guess.
Yeah.
Than The Departed, which is, if I'm not mistaken, it's actually a remake of a different movie.
Oh, I thought it was an adaptation of a novel.
I don't know.
Let's all use our lookups. Let's all use our lookups.
Martin Scorsese really wanted Al Pacino. Film won Best Picture. Martin Scorsese said that he was surprised the film had won. Mark Wahlberg easily fell back into his native accent. Felt that it was so thick that he needed subtitles. Those were the days. The only remake of a foreign film to win Academy Award for Best Picture.
Okay. So, yeah, remake of a foreign film.
Deliberately chose not to watch Mugan Dao, the original film that it was based on, until after he completed the film. There it is. Mugan Dao.
That's an interesting choice.
Yep. So I guess he must have gotten the script and said it was an adaptation and been like, okay, I'm just going to work off of the script and then I will go back and watch for his visual cues. I mean, that's smart. I mean, in some ways, it makes it as original to him as it can possibly be the work of it and the adaptation of something else. So that's fine. But yeah, I think it's fine. It's a good movie, but I don't think it deserves to be on a top. Like, these are the top.
Yeah.
Movies.
Again, I think this is the kind of thing where if Scorsese had won sooner, one of those films would have been on this list instead.
Maybe that's true because I think there are a few films in his earlier arsenal that maybe deserve.
Yeah, because this was the one.
Instead.
This was the one where it was sort of like, we're giving you the Oscar because you didn't get it the other 10 times or whatever. You know,
we didn't give it to you for Raging Bull. Or
exactly. Like, do you remember
anything else that you've done?
I think that was the year that like Lucas and Spielberg came out and presented it to him, and it was like we all knew as soon as we saw them come out that it was going to go to Scorsese. Right. I feel like it was that year. I mean, like, they didn't do it that way on purpose. It was sort of like, if they're not there because they're about to give this award to Scorsese, then why are they there? Yeah. I feel like that's sort of why that's on this list. It's because it's a Scorsese movie and the one that won an Oscar.
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
Let's talk about a movie that does absolutely deserve to be on this list.
Number 8 at an 8.6 is The Silence of the Lambs.
I am just surprised it's at number 8 out of 10 on this list.
I am not, because it doesn't. There are parts of it that don't age very well.
Okay, it's been a while.
So there's because Buffalo Bill, the kind of the serial killer of the film, the main antagonist is he's transgender, but he's not transgender, and it's all
That's
like
right. That's right. They handle that really poorly
in the way that they're like he thinks he is, but he's really not, and like they have this like whole thing back and forth, and so some of it just doesn't play well with today's
what we know now
cultural movement.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it gets a little thing, or how people are like, ew, this movie gross that has blood.
Yeah.
Downgrade. Something like something along those lines. But it Sounds of the Lambs is spectacular though. It is.
Oh yeah,
it is such a good movie.
You and Palmer had a really good conversation about it recently on Academy Rewind. I mean, I say recently. It was within the last 6 months or so. Yeah, I remember you did address that, and you broke it down really nicely, I thought. So I'll actually put a link in the show notes to that episode in particular, because I thought that was Thanks, one of your best ones. And really, I mean, anything we talk about here where you talked about the movie, I'll try to put those in the show notes.
Yeah, I don't want to be biased here, but the 90s really were a quality time for filmmaking.
Yes,
like, there was some really good stuff that came out in the 90s, and going back and doing Academy Rewind and looking at like, okay, the 80s are up. It's not a great time. Or like, the 50s are up. It's not a great time for movies. Like, there are some good ones, but most of the time it's like, it's a drag. It's not like, yes, it's the 40s. We're gonna get some great movies. Or yes, the 60s. Let's go. It's not gonna. It doesn't always work like that. But whenever a 90s movie comes around, like, you can almost bet your bottom dollar that you're gonna enjoy all 5 of them, if not 4 out of 5.
Right. Yeah.
There's just a lot of good creativity happening at that time. And Silence of the Lambs is a good one. It's the first horror film to win a Best Picture. Like, it's actually like a really important to cinema history.
Right.
That it beat out Beauty and the Beast, Frank.
I know, the first animated film, or not the first. Yeah, the first animated film to get nominated for.
Yeah, because Snow White is technically the first, but it was a special award.
Yes.
For Walt Disney, it wasn't really in the Best Picture category.
It wasn't in the category. Yeah.
Yeah.
Special technical achievement or something.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's what it was. So next up on the list is number 7 is Parasite at an 8.6. Also, you could consider a horror thriller
definitely
movie. So I think it's interesting that the next horror thriller they're right next to one another. But what I also find more interesting about Parasite is that it's a foreign film.
Yes.
I mean, it's really high on this list, which I think speaks to the quality of the movie, because there's international films are tough for some people. Like, if you tell somebody, like, you got to read, they're like,
yeah,
that's not why I watch movies.
Right,
like,
right.
Yeah, and you're like, just get over yourself. Like,
yeah,
it's not hard. Like, just read. But even if you don't read, the emotions are there. That's the beauty of a movie. You actually don't need to hear it or to understand the words to most of the time understand what is happening.
It's true.
Like,
yeah,
if
it is true.
Basic enough. Yeah.
Parasite really, really, really was like a phenomenon that year, though. 2019, like it blew up. Everyone had seen it, seemingly. Like, which for a foreign film, I mean, obviously more so after it won Best Picture, than people who hadn't seen it made a point of seeing it. But it was like sort of the most I can remember people having seen a foreign film, and being able to talk about it.
That's right. I'd say that probably since Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, that's probably the last time there was like a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah,
where people were like, I have to see this movie.
Yeah, I think that's right.
That was probably the last big one for the Academy.
Yeah. And
so
then,
I think it really does. Go ahead. You use your words.
No, I was going to say that's now happening with TV series too, where you have like Squid Game, which also took off in a big way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Although I do like the Squid Game offers you the option to dub.
That's true.
So, like,
yes, that's true.
Yes. So I know it's a bit of it's a different kind of business.
It is different. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think Parasite deserves its place on this list.
I think so.
Really, really top notch.
Oh, so good. What has he done anything? Bong Joon-ho done anything since then?
I think so, but I haven't really been following his career.
Yeah,
so I'm not
very interested in whatever he does next.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on number 6 on this list?
Number 6 on the list at an 8.7 is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and it's fine. Like, I don't think it plays very well today. anymore. There's some really good stuff in it, and there's some really not good stuff in it. And just where we are again with mental health. And I like sometimes it's good to look at movies as period pieces.
Yeah, sure.
Like, oh, this is like they're treating these things like as they would back then. I see what they're doing, but like sometimes like the way people think about stuff, like, because the whole point of One for Those Cuckoo's Nest is like, look how awful these institutions are for the mentally ill. Like, we should really be helping more than hindering. And there's like still like now even further along, you're like, there's even more work to be done. And so, but it's a good stepping stone. But it's a great performance by Jack Nicholson. And I can't remember who plays Nurse Ratched, but she is just the worst and the best. What a great character to hate. Yeah. So what do you think?
I've actually not seen this one. I actually have not seen Cuckoo's Nest. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think it's worth a watch. Like it's not bad. I think it's just more. It's more of its time than maybe some people want to admit that it is.
Okay. Gotcha.
And so some movies really truly can be timeless, and they don't really show their age. But Cuckoo's Nest does.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
So
fair.
Yeah.
It's one of those films, like, you know, that I know I need to see, and I'm sort of like, oh, how have I not seen that? But yeah,
that's
but
the
there
beauty
you go.
of Academy Rewind. It forces you to watch movies that you went, I
right.
should have seen that many years ago. So, next up at number 5, at an 8.8, Forrest Gump. Sometimes they call that film Forrest Gump. Did you love Forrest Gump?
Yeah, I love Forrest Gump.
Yeah,
I do.
It's hard not to love, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. I don't like. It was a phenomenon in its own way when it came out. Like, I remember watching Forrest Gump at school, like one year. Like, we gotta make the kids watch Forrest Gump. Okay, but there are parts of it that are certainly aged. That's not always obviously the marker of a quality movie.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Obviously, things are gonna age and not age. But there's it's whimsy, and I don't like. It's not so deep that it's like that it. I don't know. I'm not putting words in correctly anymore. But do you know what I'm trying to say without saying anything?
Yeah. It has a sense of wonder, a sense of whimsy. But do you feel like those things there's not enough substance to offset that, or what's the?
Maybe. I mean, like, if you look at the rest of this list, like even Parasite, Silence of the Lambs, what's coming up there, like Forrest Gump almost feels kind of weirdly like isn't that just nice?
It's kind of a feel-good movie. It's a feel-good movie, and not all of these are there because they're feel-good movies. But then again, like, not everything on here is here because, like, this is if Gladiator is here because it's the swords and sandals movie on this list, then Forrest Gump is the feel-good entry on the list.
That's a great point. It's a really good point. Because there are some Academy winners that are just plain feel-good.
Yeah.
Like, we needed one of those this year.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
And Forrest Gump is that. And Forrest Gump is that movie.
Forrest Gump is it. Yeah. I think it is what I would expect this movie to be here and to be in the top 5, because again, this is top 10 highest rated by IMDb users ratings, and this is a like ludicrously popular movie, ludicrously beloved. You know, like it's just like beyond words almost how popular it is and how beloved it is. So, like, of course it's in the top 5, and of course it's like what sort of by the popular vote would be in the top 10 of Best Picture winners. So yeah, I think it makes sense that it's here. I definitely would expect it to be here, and I maybe would expect it to be higher, but maybe that's me sort of being cynical about. I think that people would put the feel good movie higher up, but I'm glad that it's there. I think it belongs there.
Yeah,
you know,
I think there are enough people like me looking at that score to be like it's very good, but there's like something missing that it just doesn't like wrap around completely to be like the perfect movie.
I get that.
Yeah. At number 4, breaking our hearts at an 8.9 is Schindler's List. Absolutely deserves its place on this list. One of the best films ever made.
Spielberg's film school entry.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Schindler's List is a masterwork. You can feel the care that went in by every single person at every single second. And it is just, it's funny because a lot of Schindler's List, like your mind goes to, like, you know, the cleansing of the ghettos or the camps or like things like that. But there's a story there.
Oh yeah,
you know, of Oskar Schindler, and it's a very affecting story, right up until the very end because he's played so pitch perfectly by Liam Neeson, and you know, a career turn for Ray Fiennes, Kingsley.
That's right.
Some really top quality stuff in there, and I would probably push it a little higher up on the list if it were me.
I was going to say, I would put it at number 3 at a minimum.
Yeah, well, I think I know why you would put it at number 3 if we go to our number 3.
Oh, well, yeah, not just because of, irrespective of what's on this list, just meaning, like, I think it should be in the top 3.
Yeah, but definitely, I agree, and I would tell you where I would smush things down as we go on. But at number 3, Frank, is The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, at an 8.9. Quite possibly the most perfect movie ever made. Fight me on it. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no,
movies ever made though.
You as a Lord of the Rings fan, so you would. When we were talking about the top 5 list, the top 5 sci-fi films, we thought it was interesting that like Empire Strikes Back was on there, but not Star Wars, for example. Yeah. And that Terminator 2 was on there, but not The Terminator. So, you know, in light of that conversation from a month or two ago, how do you feel about Return of the King being on here, but neither of the first 2 films from that trilogy?
Well, I guess the first 2 didn't win the Best Picture, so.
Oh, okay, fair. That's fair. Okay,
so that's kind of where I would put that, where they were all made at the same time.
Yeah, that's
they
right.
Were filmed in one chunk over a year and a half without reshoots and whatever. So, looking at the other movies that came out those years and what won, I think Chicago and Moulin Rouge. No,
Moulin Rouge would have been before that.
Yeah, what won, but it's Return of the King winning is kind of like here's an award for all of your work across these 3. That's always kind of how I've seen it.
Yes,
because it still holds the record for the most awards nominated and won, not just for the Oscars, but by all awards, anything.
I gotcha.
It's just an insane amount of accolades, but so that's kind of where I sit. I would push it higher. I would probably push it to number 2, if not number 1. But at that point, that's because I just enjoy it more. Like I just, you know, there's really not a weak spot in there, and I think that's numbers 4 to the top, especially. There's nothing weak about these movies. Like I mean, especially if you can get over like you dislike fantasy. It's not your
Dislike, taking that out of it.
It's not your jam. So, you know, but objectively, like it technically and emotionally, like near as perfect as you can get for making a movie. So it hits all its marks. I just love it so much. So good. But do you want to talk about more of it or more things, or do you want to move to number?
I have nothing really to say. You've said the things
about you. I just didn't want to steamroll.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Should we talk about 1 and 2 together?
We should. I agree. Numbers 1 and 2 respectively with a 9.2 and a 9.0 is The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2. Wild that the first and the second are not only the highest rated, but Godfather is 2 points above.
Yeah.
Godfather 1. Do you know how hard it is to get a 9.2 on IMDb?
Yeah, seriously.
Like, there are some top quality movies that like people adore across the world, and they're like 7.9.
Yeah, exactly.
There's always somebody out there giving it a half a star for no reason.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, Empire Strikes Back got 8.7 on this scale.
Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But anyway, The Godfather 1 and 2. I like The Godfather more than Part 2, so I'm on board for this ranking.
I'm with you on that. I like Part 1.
Why do people say the second one is better?
I see why people say the second one is better, but in terms of what I like 1 and then 2.
Yeah, I guess so.
But from like for all the things you were just saying about Return of the King, like from an objective standpoint of the filmmaking, go down the list of all the things that go into making a film and all the things that think of every category you can get nominated for at the Academy Awards. And I think Godfather Part 2 like checks most of those boxes in some ways that Godfather Part 1 doesn't necessarily to the same degree. But I like the story of Godfather Part 1, I guess, more. I'm more drawn to it. And Part 2 is also very, 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 very good and technically excellent in every way. But in terms of my personal ranking, I rank them, 1 and then 2.
I just ranked number 1.
Yeah.
I just part of that I think is just Brando. Like I think that think that Don Corleone is or Vito, I should say, is he's the most interesting character in the trilogy. And so, and of course you get him also in 2, but you don't. De Niro's great, but it's not Brando. Yeah, it's just there's just something really magical about his magnetism in that movie. It's just really, and I think Coppola, like, it's a really subtle movie. Like it's not like if you don't like if that that opening scene of The Godfather where it's the wedding and whatever else, but he's like, I need you to do me this favor and the back and forth, and if you don't like think about the placement of like the guy and the size of Don Corleone's desk and the way that it's tilted in the room and what that says about Corleone, and it doesn't tell you. It's just there, and it's all for you to take in and accept and to watch. I just think I love a good downfall. Like watching a character being like, no, okay, that's not me. I'm not my family. And then by the end, he's freaking baptizing like a member into the family, being the family. Like, it's just really well constructed movie.
It is, and it demands something of you as the audience. Like, you are a participant in it. It doesn't just serve everything up to you, and just sort of say like, here's everything you need to know. Like, you need to think. It makes you think.
It does. You have to pay attention. Like, there's no question. Like, you like it. Part of that, I think, is the era that movies were made, where you were not getting spoon-fed information the way that we do now.
Yeah.
Like, you have to make the connections to yourself. I'm sorry. Like, critical thinking is an important part of the enjoyment process here. So I just don't love Part 2 the way that I love 1. So if I had to reorder these, I'd probably go. Objectively speaking, I'd probably say The Godfather is a better movie. So I'd say like Godfather, Return of the King, Schindler's List, and then maybe Godfather Part 2 after that. That's probably where I would. And then I might even leave the rest. I'd take out Cuckoo's Nest and The Departed. I'd throw in other movies, but
sure.
But
you'd make sure Jaws and Jurassic Park were on there somewhere, and
yeah, right. Well, yeah, those two non-Best Picture winners. You just gotta also technically perfect in every way.
Yes.
What a marvelous movies. Honestly, I don't really know what I would. I don't know what I would put exactly. Maybe Shape of Water, which I think is like a technically perfect film. Also makes you think. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Good Will Hunting. I don't know. Maybe even The Sound of Music. I don't know. Spotlight. These are some of the
Spotlight.
Some of the best movies these are some of the best movies the Academy has.
I'm surprised. Not from personal taste perspective, but from a popularity contest perspective, I'm surprised Titanic isn't on this list.
Wow, that's a really good point. I had not thought about Titanic
Right?
being absent from this list. Huh. All right, well, now, I already used the lookup, but I don't care. There are no rules today, Frank.
I think
Titanic.
Yeah, Titanic is surprising.
Has a 7.8.
Whoa.
So it's not even close.
Not even close.
It's not even close. Gladiator's at an 8.5.
So, see, there are still surprises. Yeah, that is
because there's a good contingent of people who love Titanic who are not also rating things on IMDb.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I would have thought the same people who put Forrest Gump so high on this list would have put Titanic up there too. It would have been my assumption, and I would have been wrong.
I don't know. There's something extraordinarily corny about Titanic.
Oh, absolutely.
It wears its heart on its sleeve like you just wouldn't believe.
Sure.
So I don't think it sits in the caliber of these. So it's like Forrest Gump wears its heart on its sleeve, but it is also like a masterwork in storytelling and acting. And I don't think that Titanic is that.
Yeah.
You are spoon-fed a lot in Titanic. There are no mysteries.
Sure.
People feel what they feel.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Definitely. Yeah.
It makes it extraordinarily entertaining.
It does. Yes.
Yeah. There needs to be ambiguity and subtlety in some respects to I think maybe a Best Picture winner or a top 10 Best Picture winner. And this list fills that category. There's a lot of ambiguity, like who's in the right, who's in the wrong, how does it end? We're not really sure.
Sure.
You need to keep the conversation going.
Yes.
And if the biggest question about Titanic is, could he really get on the door? then that's not enough.
Right.
No,
yeah, I agree.
Buoyancy. Watch the movie. He tries.
He tries.
And it doesn't work. Like, do y'all forget that bit in the movie where he actually does try to get on the door and it sinks it? Yeah, see?
Yeah.
You weren't paying attention. Frank.
Yes, sir.
It is time for our next segment of Read Up.
Yeah.
The segment where we talk about books intellectually and stuff.
What you been reading?
Frank, I read A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce.
Oh, nice.
Which I had never tackled or wanted to tackle before. But basically it was for work. So long story short. And I freaking loved it. I'm like upset at myself that I hadn't read it.
Really?
Like a long time ago. James Joyce has an extraordinarily fearful I can't think of the right word. So when I said intellectually and stuff, that was this moment.
Emphasis on the end stuff.
He has a reputation of being quite difficult to get as a reader, and so because he is one of the pioneers of stream of consciousness writing, in which you just kind of write, and the way that the writing goes, the way the characters think, just kind of flow. Like, oh, Frank, today, oh, you're wearing a brown shirt. Oh, you know what? Boxes are brown. You know, there's a box shortage in the world right now. There's a cardboard shortage, which means we don't have boxes. Does that mean that Amazon is going to start delivering in bubble wrap now more than boxes? Like, shouldn't they just do that more? But actually, bubble wrap is bad for the environment. What else is bad for the environment? I miss icebergs. Remember when icebergs were a thing? I like iceberg lettuce. Maybe I should have a salad for dinner tonight because I had pizza last night. And that's a good old stream of consciousness for you. You know, a lot of our minds work that way, and so that can be very disjointing as a reader to follow along with. But man, oh man, Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man is great. It's about this Irish Catholic kid who's going to school, and like he's just living in 19th century Catholic Ireland, and it's just his coming of age Bildungsroman story, and he's like wants to be an artist, but it's just not in the cards, baby. And what is art and the nature of beauty, and it's just a really gorgeous story. Not long. If you're too scared to read the words, there's a Audible has it narrated by Colin Farrell.
Ooh.
Native Islander Colin Farrell.
Yes.
And, that is also a good way to to tackle it. So would recommend A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, 5 stars.
Nice.
Really
I admit I am a bit intimidated by James Joyce ever since high school. So
Did you have to do James Joyce in high school?
I had to read some of Dubliners. Yeah, I had to read some bits of Dubliners. But yeah, I remember feeling intimidated, but I can read James Joyce. I just have to really buckle down and like it's hard.
Commit yourself.
Yeah, I have to commit. But Colin Farrell reading me the audiobook doesn't sound so bad.
Yeah, he's native Dubliner himself, so
yeah,
the accent is authentic to the area.
Right.
I like. So
nice.
It's good. Yeah, so I do recommend. It's his first, so it's Joyce's first, so it's a little bit more reader friendly than trying to tackle Ulysses or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that. That is A Portrait of an Honest Young Man, and that is this segment of Read Up.
Nice. Well, that is also a wrap on this week's episode of Beer with Geeks. Thanks for listening along with us. You can find us at beerwithgeeks.com, thoughtbubbleaudio.com to hear Academy Rewind and other shows that we're both on. You can support us at patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio, and you can rate and review us anywhere podcasts are found, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. You can leave us a rating and review. You can subscribe and never miss an episode of the show, and tell a friend. Yeah, those are the ways. Those are the things to do. So enjoy the Oscars, and Tim, until next time, cheers.